Who are you and what are you doing?
So my name is Nova. I'm a full-time content creator talking about botting and reselling sneakers. And yeah, that's basically it. So you get to see my entire reselling operation, from where I sell it, how I buy everything, the L's that I take, the money that I lose, the money that I make. I try to show everything on my YouTube channel.
Could you give like a little overview of what botching exactly is?
As you know, with some very, very limited sneakers, what ends up happening is these things sell out very, very fast, maybe like 2 to 3 seconds. Sometimes it's very quick. So in order to help increase your chances of being able to successfully purchase sneakers, what you would have to do is purchase a bot and operate it so that it automates the entire checkout process. So you would put in your billing profile, and then after that you press start, and then it tries to check out for you as fast as possible. And that's basically a summary of what botting is. But but the reason why some of us do it is to make profits. So for example, let's say a sneaker would retail for $100, sometimes being that so many people want it but the supply is really low. The resale price might be $200 or $300 depending on the sneaker. So that's why botting is necessary sometimes. Some people want it for just to buy sneakers to wear, or maybe to resell, or maybe a little bit of both.
Okay, thank you so much. Do you think anybody can get easily like into botting, or is it like kind of you have to be like a little nerdy and really into it to get it to work?
I would say anybody can get into it, but you have to be really dedicated, especially depending on your level of like how good you are with computers. I know a lot of people who are like older guys that don't know too much about computers, but they read all the guides and then they ask the right questions and they experiment with their setup. Those guys have found themselves to be very successful in this business. But if you are very good with computers, then learning things might be a little bit easier for you. But whether or not you are good with computers, or like you've had experience reselling in general, botting, just there's a lot of topics that go into it, so it is really a lot of learning. But short answer to answer your question, yes, anybody can get into it, but it's a lot of risk and it's a lot of learning. So you also have to put in time as a big factor when it comes to trying to bot sneakers, or just bot anything really.
So you just like told the answer to one of my further questions. Are the bots also good like to buy different limited or other limited stuff, or is it like dedicated to sneakers?
So basically, I'm not sure if like we're seeing it more and more that sneaker botters are starting to go into more mainstream avenues. For example, like PlayStations, Xboxes, graphics cards, collectible items. These people try to basically just flip as much as they can, because botting is very expensive. Depending on your setup, it could be like a few $100s a month just to operate a bot, and the bots themselves are very, very expensive, maybe a few $1,000s. So in order to help recoup that money and help make more profits, then people generally do try and bot like collectibles as well, or limited items, whatever can flip, if their bot supports it, to help offset those costs, the operating costs.
Again, one question that you kind of answered. What is the like best way to get a bot? Because I've researched a little bit, and it was nearly impossible for me to get like a bot for my project. So I've had a time limit of like 2 weeks to just kind of get into it, and I found out that it's quite impossible to get a bot in this time and get it up and running.
Right. For the limited ones that are really high in demand, if you don't get it for retail price, it's gonna cost a few $1,000s. Like maybe that's an understatement. Maybe like $5,000, $6,000. It's very, very expensive. But there are a few bots that do go for retail price that you can buy just whenever. Some of these bots aren't as good as the super limited bots, but they work if you know what you're doing. But you have to be quite good, or you have to be quite lucky to be successful with those bots. Otherwise, other than like just following every single bot Twitter, you can try and like go for restocks and hopefully get lucky. A lot of bot Twitters, sometimes they do raffles, they do giveaways very, very often. You can try and go for the regular first come first serve restocks, but you have to be very fast. And sometimes people are they have these extensions to help automate the checkout process for the bots too. So that's even so it's almost like botting to get a bot, and it does kind of make sense. But in most cases, bot companies try to prevent these things from happening. What else? How else can you get a bot? A really good way that I would recommend for people who just kind of want to try it is you can rent a bot. So bot rentals, depending on how long you rent the bot for, could be anywhere between $20 to $100. So for example, if you're only renting it for a few days for like a single release, maybe like $20. If you're doing it for a whole month, maybe like $100 to $200. So that's another good way to try and get into it.
Okay, perfect. Let's say you rent a bot for like one sneaker release. What are the websites sneaker bots are good at, and what are the sites that all of you guys have problems getting sneakers? Or are there websites where like it's nearly impossible to get bots to get sneakers?
Yeah, well, there's so many websites, but generally it depends on the bot that you get. Initially, when I was starting to get into botting, I was thinking to myself, oh, let me just buy a bot, and then after that I will be able to bot every single website. Like, that's not really how it works. So it just depends on the bots. Like, some bots are better in some platforms than others, but off the top of my head, I can't really think of anything that's unbottable. Like, there's basically a bot for almost every single website, although I do have to say that there isn't, I don't have the full list of websites. Surely there's some websites that you can't bot, but generally there's a bot for anything.
Okay.
But I would have to say, outside of sneakers, there are some platforms that are really good at stopping bots. For example, Best Buy is really good at stopping bots, in my opinion. For now, it could the botting landscape can change absolutely whenever. So today I'm saying Best Buy is good at stopping bots. That can change tomorrow or the day after that, or maybe 1 week from now. It all depends. The botting landscape changes. Maybe next week, Shopify develops a really, really good anti-bot thing, and then after that, like, it stops every single bot. We don't know. It changes up and down, but as of right now, as far as I know, basically most, if not all, websites can be botted.
Okay. Would it be possible to you to live off the botting aside from being a creator?
Yeah, it is possible, but I would say it's unlikely, especially if you live in an expensive neighborhood like New York. The rent for something very, very small is maybe like $2,000 a month, and you have to be really good at buying and selling sneakers if you really want to live off of that, because that's just the rent. That's not including all of the operating costs for the bots and like your living expenses, like food and whatever. So it would be very difficult to do it. Either that, or you need to have very, very good connections to people who are willing to buy more of these general release sneakers. For example, if there's a sneaker that's not that limited, but you do have buyers for them, then you can make a lot of money that way. For example, if it's a Jordan that not too many people want, or rather that doesn't sell out right away, but you can get thousands of them without any issues, since you do have a bot and you do have buyers for them, then maybe you would be able to make a full-time living off of it. But in general, just buying and selling sneakers with bots, it would be very difficult to turn that into a full-time job.
Okay. I do not know where you live, but are you scared of like serious penalties for sneaker botting, or is it legal? Is it kind of legal?
As far as I know, right now it is 100% legal, but you cannot, well, in the US it's legal. As far as I know, it's legal. But what you can't do is bought concert tickets. That is illegal.
Okay.
You can't do that. But as of right now, it's fine, or otherwise I wouldn't be making videos about it.
Okay, so the last question, which was like the most asked question in my Instagram story, is: do you think it's fair, or do you feel kind of bad for botting, or do you think it's like a okay way?
In my opinion, I think it's an okay way, but I have an entire video discussing this topic on why, in my opinion, it's okay to start botting. Is because here's what it comes down to. There is very, very, very limited stock for these sneakers, maybe less than 100 per tier 0 retailer. So like, let's say Kith, Concepts, or Undefeated. Most of the time they get like less than 200 or 300 stock. But now let's think about how many people want these sneakers. Probably thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, is the demand. So no matter what, even if botting didn't exist, there wouldn't be enough sneakers to go around for everybody. So if people are very, very upset at people just reselling it, then I always think that's the wrong stance to go. I think the best way to, if you want to be mad at somebody, I would say be mad at Adidas, be mad at Nike, all these retailers that are making it almost impossible, really, for the general consumer to get their hands on these pieces for retail price, because they know that hype really drives up demand and awareness for their brand, and that's why they do it. They found the perfect balance between generating a lot of profits and bringing up hype with limited stock. So that's the first point. The second point is, like you said, or I'm not sure if you did that much research into it, but a lot of people think, oh, it's just you press start and then boom, you get a lot of pairs, right? That's not really the case. What ends up happening is there's many people who lose thousands of dollars trying to get into botting because, number one, it's very difficult. And number two, there's a lot of people who are out there for your money. So you can see these new bots popping up and then they just take your money and then leave, right? So there's a lot of risk involved. So let's say even if you get everything 100% correct, you know what you're doing, you spend thousands of dollars on your setup, you spend like hundreds of hours learning the manuals, the bots, there's still a very high possibility that you end up with 0 pairs. That is a huge risk for resellers and botters. So not only that, but like the time it takes to learn everything. Another thing, if you do not use a bot, you have absolutely no risk. Most people that complain, this is my assumption, most people that complain is they would go on the website, they would pick 1 or 2 websites, they would go on it, it sold out, okay, they sold out, what happens? So you don't get sneakers, right? That's not the end of the world. But what about a botter? Let's say it sells out, they take a L, maybe they lose thousands of dollars because they invested into all these proxies, all these servers, all of this. So the risk and the effort factor is way higher than somebody who doesn't use a bot. So in general, I would say that most people would agree that if you work harder for something, then they deserve it more than somebody who doesn't work that hard for something. So if you're a manual user, I'm not saying that you're not working hard for the sneaker, but resellers and botters, they put a lot of money on the line. They take a lot of time to really learn how every single platform works, and it takes a lot of time and money to do this. So if you're you're a manual user and you want to try and get things for retail price, in reality, there's nothing really stopping you from taking the same risks that botters and resellers take. So that's what my message is about on my channel, or that's what I try to convey, is that I want everybody to win. I don't want obviously that's not going to happen. There's not enough sneakers to go around for everybody, but I don't want people to be stuck in that mentality of just, putting the blame on other people and things like that. So that's my personal point of view of it, which is why I think botting is ethical and it's fine for whether you're a reseller, collector, whatever. So yeah, that's basically it.
Okay, vielen Dank an Nova auf jeden Fall für dieses Interview. Wenn euch das Interview gefallen hat, lasst mir gerne ein Like da. Checkt die Links von Nova in der Videobeschreibung aus. Kuss, Kuss, Kuss. Bis die Tage.